This is how it all began. I got born. Now, what I'm about to tell you is what my mother told me. My mother, Helen, she was a small woman. Turns out I was a big baby. Her labor was very long and actually very difficult. At one point, so difficult, she became unconscious. Yet, as she told me, she found herself in this limitless, black, something forever kind of a place, a void. And then in this void, seemingly from above, she began to see a light, a beautiful light, attractive, special, shimmering. And then, as though from below, she saw a hand beginning to reach up and reach up as though to try to touch or catch the light. Then she heard a voice she said like she had never heard before. It was deep and resonant, yet very warm, almost kind. And this voice said, "Peace on earth. You have a son." A little later, she woke, and there was the doctor standing in front of her, holding this big bruised baby, actually bruised head to toe. Apparently, I'd been stuck in the birth canal. And leaning forward, he said, "Helen, you have a son." And she said, "Yes, I know." Now, I have to admit, I remember nothing of that. But I do recall what I would call my earliest memories of a kind of a feeling, a hunger, or perhaps an appetite. This appetite has always been with me. An appetite for what? I had no name. Now, perhaps as an adult, I or you could call it the divine, the sublime, the extraordinary, the special, or maybe a kind of AI that I would call maybe ancient intelligence. That feeling has always been with me. Always. And in a way, I can feel as though I was kind of born with it. It's almost as though it's always been inside me. I was raised a Canadian farm boy. All the men I knew were either farmers, factory workers, or firemen. And the firemen, they were the most professional. All these men were strong. They were workers. They're laborers. They were thick and strong. They all smelled. But no, they weren't bad smells. I mean, frankly, everybody smelled. They weren't really the kind of men that I could ask questions about this appetite. I would say what they knew, they taught by their actions. If there was something big and heavy to lift, the man that would go silently to the heavy end, he was the leader. I went to Catholic school. I was raised a Catholic, the school in the middle of the fields, nowhere next to the big church and the convent. The nuns were my teachers, and when I would ask them something of this appetite, figuring they must know something, they would declare, "It's a mystery." The only man in that group was the priest, and he turned out to be alcoholic. So when as kids, we'd all be marching over to the church to do confession, to secret out our childhood sins, and you go in the box and lean next to the grid to tell the priest. The grid had this clear plastic film over it because his breath smelled of booze. So where do you go? I mean, who's going to help you in this game? On the farm, after my barn chores, carrying these heavy pails of water, bruises on your thigh for the cows and the horses, after shoveling the pig shit, the fumes would just suck the air right out of your lungs. Go back to the house, up to my room, and do what? Fan across the encyclopedias and stop on an impulse, pull down a book, flip it open, and read whatever the universe had to teach me. Well, I tried to teach myself Greek and Sanskrit from the encyclopedias. Didn't work out at all. Okay, but I decided to be the first in my family to go to university. I was going into academia. I was going to study psychology, master the mind. And it turned out that it was stale, uninteresting, black box behaviorism. But I was lucky because I entered university in the late 1960s. Now, if you've heard anything about it, it was better than that. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, think about it. You leave your family home, leave your parents, you have this whole new group of brand new friends. This is way before the internet. And you've got some of the best music ever made, LSD and birth control pills. I mean, come on. Sometimes we even went to class. But I got to tell you that this appetite of mine, it was really teased. Actually, it was quite amplified. But there was still this feeling. It wasn't satisfied. There was this, like, what is it? What is it? What is it? So only a week after my graduation, I ended up moving this Canadian hippie farm boy to Isfahan, Iran, right in the middle of the Persian desert. I decided I wasn't going to read encyclopedias. I was going to go into the encyclopedias and would hang out at the edge of the city waiting for a truck to go anywhere off into the desert and any oasis and jump off and explore the footsteps of Rumi and some Zoroastrian ruins, go back to the city, the Grand Bazaar, Silk Road, roam through, feeling the heartbeat of Marco Polo, shopping in the same spice shops as him, roaming in the night through the hallways of the derelict opium addicts by their fires. Where is it? What is it? I can feel it. I want it. So, a year later, part of the times, I'm with my Hindu guru in India. I'm living in ashrams, Indian festivals, all of that. Then, years later, with my Korean Taoist teacher, many long, secluded, isolated mountain meditation retreats. Not easy stuff. And fortunately, I can say, for the past 30 years, with my Tibetan Dzogchen teacher. Through all of this, and there's more, through all of this, I kept on seeing, maybe like you, I saw so many methods, so many ways, so many techniques, so promising. Somehow, they didn't necessarily pay off. As a matter of fact, frequently not, a kind of a honeymoon period. So, now, in all of this, it's not as though I'm independently wealthy. I did have a professional life. I did work. I worked in integrated healthcare, in education, the human potential movement, biohacking, all of these things. As a matter of fact, I opened the first day spa in LA in the late 80s. I still have, I'm proud, a very beautiful big spa in downtown Bangkok, 20 years now. But it's always perplexed me. Why is it there are so many techniques that should work, don't work? You try, you're this, you're that. Why is there something in the way? Is there some kind of obstruction? So, no, wait a minute. Neuroscience. There's something happening now that wasn't happening before. All of the effort in the spirit and the soul and the mind, now we have access to the brain itself. Wait a minute. Is there something here? Is there something here that can fit into this appetite? The answer is yes, there is. There's a lot of science to say, but to make it simple, we know now as adults our brain can change. Also, through something like neurofeedback, we realize that our brain has this whole spectrum of activity. Stability to flexibility, I'll say more. That our brain, I'm not going to argue brain, mind, chicken, egg, we won't go there, but we do have a brain. No doubt about that. And what we see in the brain, and neurofeedback shows this, brain signal variability shows it, and this is, I'll have to say, what I think is, I don't know if it's the key, but it's one of the top three. The key is, when you look at the brain and you see the spectrum of brainwave activity, many of us, I'm sure me, many of us have zones of fixation, habituation. Many of us have brain activity that is stuck. It's stuck. We have habits. Habits, of course, are psychological, but we have to also appreciate any habit that you have also has a neurological pathway, that we are physical. This issue is as physical as a stone in your shoe. So, can we unstick a stuck brain? The answer, yes, we can. I'll put it in two big categories that actually overlap. We have methods that do not use technology. We've had them for millennia. We also have methods that use technology, sort of the theme of this section. So how can we unstick a stuck brain? Meditation, many forms, they work. So does breath work. However, it requires skill, patience, good amount of time. So that's good. We should do it. Those are good techniques. Is there a chance that now we can have technology as an assist? Because even leather over sticks, a shaman's drum, that's technology, by the way. But do we have technology now that can actually melt away the fixation, that habituation, that stone in your brain that's blocking the techniques? Yes. Right now, you're probably aware, there are pulse magnetic systems that can help. There are microcurrent elements that can help. For me, I use uniquely crafted light and sound. Maybe you saw some of the stuff back there. So let's make it an analogy. I'd like you to imagine right now that your brain is a 20-story building. Okay? There's a stairway, pretty slow. Fortunately, there's an elevator. And you can go up and down in your brain in this 20-story building. What are the lower floors about? Stability, learned behavior, reliability, repetition. massively important. But we also have a whole lot of other floors, up to 20 in the analogy. What are the upper floors for? Flexibility, new learning, dynamism, quick response, thrills and chills. And throughout the day, how many decisions every day? 35,000 or something like that? We have to go up and down. Our brain is made to do that. There are many, many ways of doing it, but here's a problem. Is your elevator stuck on a certain floor? That's what neuroscience is teaching us right now, that habits are not just psychological, they're neurological. Every time you do it, those synaptic pathways go yes and yes and yes and yes. So when you apply a technique of any sort, there is this kind of expectation that your brain is ready, willing, and able to change. Unfortunately, and this is our science, it's fantastically helpful, the news is no. The brain behavior can get fixated, what I call stuck. So it's not about effort, it's not that you're dumb, it's not that you don't have the courage to do it, but the fact is that there is habituation, there is this stuckness, a stickiness in neurological activity. So now that you know that, instead of thinking the technique is no good or I'm no good, maybe there needs to be some adjustment, maybe time to take the stone out of your shoe. That's what I'm proposing. I'm proposing a consideration, a recognition that techniques that should work, haven't quite yet worked, but can work and will work, oftentimes require this preamble. So I would encourage you to recognize that effort alone is not the issue, although you must have the discipline, to consider melting, softening the glue, the stickiness, and then watch and see. Watch and see the kind of change that can happen. Hop in the elevator, go for a ride, and join me, like myself, where the appetite can be satisfied. Thank you very much.